Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Mariah Miller, and I'm so glad you're here to join me today. And I have been thinking a lot about what to share today because, you know, there is a lot going on in the world. And the interesting thing is when big things happen that are out of our control, all of a sudden our mind that has been so focused on taking care of everything and putting everything in order and getting everything done so that we can get through our day, all of a sudden our minds get lost. And there is this sense of, wait, what am I supposed to do now? And when that happens, that's the time when those big questions come up. Those big questions of, what is it that I'm doing with my life? Where am I going? Am I on track? What's really important for me? And what happens is that the answer doesn't come from here, it comes from here. It comes from the heart. So that is the moment where we get to tap into a bigger wisdom that's more available to all of us individually and collectively. And we'll go into a little bit more depth in that with that in just a little bit. But what is really my goal today is to answer any questions around the HeartMath movie that may have come up for you, and perhaps share some information with you that you may or may not know, but that may help you during this time to get connected to yourself, to help you get connected with other people around in conversation here, as well as, you know, your extended family, friends, community, to help you also balance your autonomic nervous system internally so that you get to experience that sense of calm that may or may not be elusive during these times. So I want to go ahead and get started with a little poll. And I wanted to find out if you have seen the movie, The HeartMath Experience, which was the movie that I sent out. And this is just for me, so I have an idea of what you know or may not know. So that would give me kind of like where to go with our conversation today. And you can just simply click yes or no. All right, so we've got about 50-50. All right, thank you. Okay, perfect, thank you. So some of you have seen it and some of you haven't. All right, so what I'm going to do then is start from the beginning and give you just a little bit more information about what HeartMath is, why I decided to do this call, and then answer questions that can come up. All right. So many of you on the call will know me from my human design background. So just a little bit about me. I am a human design teacher and practitioner. I share this system called human design with people to help them get them in alignment with themselves. What you may or may not know is that I'm also a board certified coach, and I worked at HeartMath for 10 years. And the last 5 years, I was the director of the coaching program at HeartMath. Now, what is HeartMath? HeartMath is the company that put out a system of techniques and even technology that help people connect to their heart, to help them get into what we call a state of coherence, which basically means an internal synchronization between all your internal systems so that you can experience more calm and ease and poise as you go through your day. Now, there's many different benefits that you can gain from it, whether that is purely health benefits, like reducing your diabetes experience, reducing your high blood pressure, all these different things, emotional balance, so reducing depression, anxiety, etc., helping students with increasing their test scores simply because this helps you focus better. The military uses this, as well as the police force, to help them stay calm and poised as they're going about, these really stressful situations. So there's a lot of different applications for this material. So that is part of my background that I then combine with human design in my coaching that I do with clients. Now, I had the amazing opportunity to work at HeartMath, and as such actually experience what HeartMath can do firsthand. When I got involved with HeartMath, I had a lot of anxiety, and that anxiety happened in, I don't know if you may recognize this, but the anxiety was, I would wake up in the morning, I would have this big wave of anxiety just coming over me, and I would be like, okay, here we go. It would be one of those days, and I would feel this incredible anxiety, tension in my stomach radiating out throughout my whole body, kind of walking around like this, being just hyper vigilant to what might be happening during my day and quick to respond just to keep things under control. And then usually around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, things would start to light up, and I would feel so much more calm and ease. For the rest of my day, it would take a few more hours. And then, in the evening, it would start up again, waking up the next morning with again that wave, and that was kind of my pattern. I thought that that was normal. During my work at HeartMath, I got the opportunity to learn about this information, to practice it. And I can tell you that it's amazing, the experience. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be gone like that. It may take weeks. It took me months. It took me about 4 months before I started noticing little things. But 4 months before I really realized, wow, I feel anxious. I haven't felt that in a while. And that realization that my days were lighter, my way of being was lighter. I hadn't seen friends for 15 years. So when I went back to Holland to visit my family, I saw a couple of my friends that I hadn't seen in such a long time. And they said, wow, you have changed. You used to be so nervous, like I used to be moving all the time. It was so much more calm, and it was just a very different experience to get that reflected back from people that knew me from so long ago. So all of that to just share that this stuff works if you use it. And the reason for this call was to not just share this movie, which I think was really beautiful, and you can learn a lot from the movie, but it's really just a Band-Aid. You learn something, you see it, and you think, oh, that's great. And then you turn off the movie and you forget about it, right? That happens with most of us. We'll read a book or we go to a seminar and you learn some really cool tools and you think this is going to change my life, and you forget about it. And that was just a Band-Aid. So my goal in this today is to, for some of you, introduce what HeartMath is. For some of you, kind of cement some of those pieces into place, do some practice, give some more information, hopefully share things with you and hear from you as well. And then support you with your practice as we're all going through this really unprecedented time. Make sense, everybody? Thumbs up if you got it, or if you have questions. Excellent. Or if you have questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. You're welcome to put things in the chat, but I'd love to hear your voice. I'm someone who's very auditory, so I'd love to hear your voice. Okay. So I am going to share my screen with you. And as I mentioned before, normally I'm a little bit more professional, where I have my slides up and everything, and you see the full, the full slide and not just my view. But today I want to just be real, and I want to share many different things with you. So I'll share my screen in a number of different ways with you. Okay, so what are we going to do today? I want to share a little bit about stress and resilience with you. I want to share a little bit of the research with you, potentially do a demo, just see how far we go, and then talk about practical applications. Okay, but where I want to start is I want to hear from you. How is this situation affecting you? What are you noticing for yourself? Who wants to share? And you can just simply unmute. All right. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, let me see if I can. There you are. You're
Can
unmuted.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Mariah. I'm Adair, and
Yes. Hi.
how this is affecting me. Well, I live alone, and so I'm just kind of being even more alone.
Yeah.
And I'm really getting comfortable in my skin.
Right.
I'm trusting myself way more. I've done a lot of journaling and writing, and I think I was introduced to you through human design, and so that's another. I like to study that and learn.
Good.
You know, the hard part is I live in Canada, but my family's in Texas. Like my dad and my family of origin is in Texas, so you know, I'm concerned about them. My dad's 95 and stuff, and my kids are here in Calgary, and I see them a little bit, but like I saw my daughter yesterday, but no hugs, you know, it was just a handoff of some food and, you know, how are ya kind of thing. So, you know, I'm missing hugs. I'm missing touch.
Yes.
You know, from hugs or from friends. I'm missing my dance group that I usually go to every week and but at the same time, I'm enjoying the different perspective that I'm just because I'm walking the neighborhood every day, you know, walking my dog. And I've noticed I can get off track, right? And go on, look at the news or go on the internet and hours go by and it's like, oh my God, what was that? Why did I do that? So learning boundaries too, you know, I'm enjoying the stuff. I'm enjoying this at some level, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, thank you for sharing that, Adair. And that's really something that I'm hearing from a lot of people. So I'm hearing a lot of different things, by the way. I hear the same thing, that life is slowing down in a way. You know, people are telling me that, oh my gosh, the universe is finally catching up with me. You finally have a chance to do that journaling. I love what you say, that you're getting to trust yourself more.
Yeah.
And then there is the other side of, but wait, I miss my routines. I miss my social connection, and I feel kind of pulled out of my routine and finding myself spending time in ways that I wasn't necessarily planning on. So yeah, that's very recognizable. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Who else would like to share? What's going on for you? And if you can't unmute, just please let me know. Put it into the chat. Okay. Micah, did you want to share?
Yeah, I can always share because my situation is almost funny because I moved from England to Scotland in the middle of January, and I had 3 very quiet years in Scotland, healing after I lost my cat Tiger and learning a bit of human design, as you know, and working on my book. But then moving to, I'm about an hour from Edinburgh, and there's very good bus service. So my plans were to come out. There is a human design workshop in May, and I was planning to join 5 Written dance group in Edinburgh and, you know, meet more like-minded people. And of course it's not possible. So I'm like living my old life, but I'm literally 2 minutes from a beautiful sandy beach and a coastal walk. I'm not complaining, and I'm just doing what I was doing before, and I have lovely neighbors.
Nice. Yes, yes. It's very interesting when you think you've planned something and all of a sudden life is saying, well.
Yeah, but I managed to move. I wouldn't have been able to move now.
So, I'm
So
sorry, you managed to move out of
I
Scotland, or?
managed to move because it was middle of January. I wouldn't have been able to move now.
Yes, yeah,
The
yeah,
housing market is at standstill, and I don't think the removal company would have been working.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously, there's a bigger plan.
yes, yeah. It's an interesting thing to have to surrender, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
In a
yeah, yeah. I had
in a
my
certain
plans,
level.
but obviously, I'm obviously not. I'm still supposed to be doing what I was
Yeah,
doing before.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Micah. I'm glad to have you on the
Thank you,
call.
thank you.
All of
You
you, by the
were the
way.
one who introduced me to human design.
Right.
Yeah, you were.
Yes, yes, yes. And the beautiful thing is that human design and hard math work so well together, and because both help bring you into alignment in different ways. Yeah. So thanks for that, Micah. Susan is sharing that she's multitasking, so she can't be really on the call, but she's loving this time, being able to. Um, WFH, does that stay? Oh, work from home. Thank you. I was thinking the shelter in place, but it didn't quite fit. Yes. So I hope it becomes more of a norm. That's one of the things that they're talking about, right? The possibility of that evolving into more working from home. Disengaged from the news and the media because there's so much negative news and there's very little positive. Yes, there is a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of fear out there, and we're getting the opportunity to choose between that love and fear. And I know I'm telling the people here on the call, I'm not telling you anything new there, but it is a moment to moment choice. And as Micah was just talking about, more of that surrendering and just having to, be with what is versus trying to make things happen. Thank you for that. Anybody else who wants to share what's going on for you? How are you experiencing this shelter in place, this COVID-19 experience? Yeah, Julie.
Yeah, I'll go. I don't know if the person who has the Washington area code wants to go, but I guess I'll go first.
Go for it.
So thanks so much for organizing this today. I'm really excited to learn more about the heart math and what you've been doing in relation to that.
Mm-hmm.
How I've been doing is, yeah, I mean, I think it's just coincided with feeling a little bit more roots in relation to where I live. I lived abroad for a long time, as they call it, abroad. But I lived it in a different country for a long time. And since the beginning of COVID, for some reason, it just kind of sparked this thing. It's not only about staying at home, but it's about getting to know my neighborhood better, taking walks out in nature. So kind of developing those or strengthening those roots.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, making new connections, really working on well-being with a number of different forums for that and teachers, and also a total reorganization of work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say there is the overall reorganization is a big theme, and well-being is another big theme. And what you were talking about, the being able to choose between love and fear, that's the other theme for me, is that that choice on a momentary basis. Because like when you go out, for example, and people are like, you get that sense like, I want to avoid you with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
literally. So you're like, have to react and be like, okay, I'm not going to take it personally that that person acts like I'm diseased, because this is what we're supposed to be doing. But also, it's a little bit confusing in trying to sort through all that, because where I am in Santa Cruz, there's actually not that many cases. So it's good that people are keeping their distance, but at the same time, that you can see that fear, and then you're like, the disease, you don't know if the disease is the fear that people have because, oh my God, you could contaminate me, or the disease is actually the disease itself, the corona. So anyway, that's what I have to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. So first of all, it's great to hear how you feel that this is giving you an opportunity to ground more in your community in a way that you've not done before. So it's great that it brings that. And what you're talking about, the experience of fear that people have as you're negotiating your way in the grocery store or outside as you're taking walks. One of the things that I found is that there is a kindness and a care when people are taking walks, and we're all wearing our masks now, and so we're coming up on the same sidewalk, and it's like, okay, well, who's going to do the sidestep? And there is this kind of, you see the eyes smile because we're recognizing it in each other, and not everybody, but it just seems there's more of a connection in that way. Where I live, the cars have slowed down driving because many people are walking in the streets. And so the cars drive by and they give you high fives or thumbs up because you're wearing your mask, and they're like, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. It's all good. So there is this, on the one hand, the fear of, oh my gosh, I don't want to be infected, versus the other of the care of like, hey, we are all in this together, and how can we protect ourselves? How can we protect each other so that we do not get more cases? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you. I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to share. And otherwise, I just want to share a little bit about HeartMath. Okay, so as you know, we are all energy systems, and the way that we do our energy is that we expand that too, but we expend it every day, and we renew our energy every day. In the morning, hopefully you slept well, you have a lot more energy, you use it. Human design is a great way to recognize how to use it as efficiently as possible. And then at night, you are depleted, hopefully well depleted, and you fall asleep and you just wake up the next morning and do it again. That is how we are designed, right? To use our energy in the best way possible and most productive way during our day. However, things can happen. So what happens when we get into a new challenge, which can be getting a new job, moving to a new area, or experiencing a pandemic like we are, there is this initial experience of your energy getting fully behind it. Like you feel motivated, you feel, maybe you have a sense of fear, maybe you have a sense of, I'm not sure about this whole unknown. It can even be when you get a new job, right? Or you move to a new area. It's like, oh, there is this unknown, but you're ready to learn. So your energy is available for this. And this is a time where your performance actually improves. Then there is a period that, okay, I got this, and you're working on all cylinders and you feel really good. You're getting things under control. You're making it happen. And if you continue to take care of yourself, your energy over time will drop off unless there is a new challenge, right? But this is where we really want to build our resilience, because where we are right now, so just so you know, we are now have just crossed the 30 days of shelter in place, right? So we are at this hyper-reactive stage that if we have not been taking care of ourselves, now our performance level is dropping off. We're getting into this emotionally exhausted stage, and that affects everything in our body, including our immune system. It affects our way of functioning in the world. Even if we're at home, you know, this is when those little irritations become suddenly really big. Does that make sense for people? So our goal is to help build that internal resilience so that we, even if we're getting into this hyper-reactive stage, we have more energy available to manage those little things that might be creeping up. And instead of throwing you off completely, you still have the ability to pivot and to move around. Yeah? Makes sense? Okay. So at HeartMath, we do a lot of research. And one of the things that we research is heart rate variability. And we research that not just for our own benefit, but also you know, doctors, cardiologists who want to find out more information, because we have such a huge database of HRV patterns, heart rate variability patterns. And I'll tell you more about what that is in just a little bit. They send people to HeartMath to get outfitted with heart rate variability monitors to track what's happening, so that the doctor will have more information to deal with that. So here was a husband and wife that went up to the HeartMath Institute to get the monitor, and it's usually a 24-hour monitor, and they have to track everything that happens. So the things that happen, like I ran a flight of stairs, I exercised, I slept, I ate, all these different things you want to mark so that we can correlate what's going on with your heart rate versus what's happening out there. Because the thing is that our stress, or how we are experiencing stress, is not just a physical thing. It's a physical reaction to what is happening out there. So here's what happens. He gets outfitted and he's, you know, walking around, climbing in his car, and they're starting to drive. And then his wife is saying something that's getting under his skin. Okay. He gets really agitated, really angry. Now take a look at, this is his heart rate. Okay. This is the amount of time that he gets really, really agitated, up to even like 150 something per minute. His heart is beating. And just imagine, he's sitting in his car. He's not running up a flight of stairs. He's not exercising. This is his heart affecting his whole body because he's really angry. And he really lays into her for, as you can see, for about 20 minutes. It's like 20 solid minutes of having a huge argument. And then finally he says he calmed down around this time, but you can see that his heart rate is still so much higher for a lot longer. And even after, 30 minutes, it's still higher than it was to begin with. Now, this is, as I said, they were driving. You can only imagine what his wife might have said, right? Are you sure we're going the right way? Should we look up the directions? So you can see how just a little something, like here we sitting at our computer, and all of a sudden that one email of that one person can come up. And we're not like, hundreds and hundreds of years ago trying to evade the bear or the tiger. Here we are getting an email of someone that gets under our skin. Now, we're not running away from our computer. We're still sitting here, but you can feel your heart rate. You can feel your anxiety just kind of amping you up. So with this whole situation with COVID-19, as you're reading the news or as you're thinking about the people that may be affected, you yourself internally are experiencing the effects, even though you're still sitting still at your computer doing your thing. Does that make sense? Yeah? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yeah? Okay. So the thing is that it all depends on our awareness. You know, how aware are we with where our energy goes so we can stop draining the amount of energy that we have out of ways that are not efficient for us, and instead actually rebuild and become more resilient so we can manage those things. We can manage those emails and react and realize that our reaction may not be in alignment with the original email. You know, it's like when your boss tells you, hey, come to my office. I need to talk to you. Well, depending on how you feel, you can either think, oh my gosh, I did something wrong, he's going to fire me. Well, at the same time, he may just have said, hey, come to my office because I want to give you some tickets to the Knicks game, right? It could be going both ways, but what we do internally is how we experience the effects of our stress. And the way that this happens is through this heart-brain communication. So something that you may or may not know is that there is actually a little brain in the heart. There are neurons in the heart that fire in the same way as the neurons in our brain. As a matter of fact, the neurons in our heart send up information to our brain via the vagus nerve, 90% more information going up to the brain and only 10% information going down. So there is a lot more information that the heart is checking out and regulating and then sending up that information to our brain so that our brain then can act accordingly. Okay. And the patterns in those neural signals from the heart affect the brain centers that are part of our frontal cortex: perception, emotional experience, and self-regulation through that vagus nerve. And how does it do that? That's through that heart rate variability. So heart rate variability is a physiological phenomenon. So here you have one heartbeat, and then you have another heartbeat, and then you have another heartbeat. The time in between those heartbeats will change depending on the demands of what your body needs, right? Because if you're sitting in your chair, your heartbeat only needs to beat a certain rhythm. But if you suddenly get up to walk to the door or run up that flight of stairs, all of a sudden your heartbeat needs to kick in, right? It needs to go faster. We tend to think that our heart rate is a very steady, 76 beats per minute. That may be the average, but it's not what happens in between. It will always speed up, it will always slow down. So here's a little graph of that. So here you see a number of heartbeats within a number of seconds. So here there is a wider space, a little smaller space, a little smaller space. As you can see, the spaces in between become a little smaller. So what happens is that the heartbeat speeds up and then it slows back down. So very often, like speeding up is like a breathing in, and then breathing out is when the heartbeat slows down. And then you're breathing in again, so your heartbeat speeds up, and then it slows down again. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So as it speeds up and slows down, that's kind of the normal pattern. But again, when we are experiencing fear, when we are experiencing irritation or anger or frustration, all these emotions that can actually drain our system, what happens is that the speeding up and slowing down starts to get very chaotic. You just have to imagine that all our internal system, our hormone system, our digestive system, our immune system, all these different systems basically need energy in order to do their job well. If we are under stress, all our internal systems say, but wait, I need enough information, I need enough energy, I need enough oxygen. And so they start out of that survival mode to focus on just themselves, and all the systems start to become very chaotic together. And that's that internal anxiety that we feel. That's that internal stress. It's like all our systems are kind of out of order. That creates that internal tension, which is what we call incoherence. So this is what's called an incoherent pattern. It's basically the pattern that we just looked at a moment ago, but now it's kind of sped up. It's pulled together. So it's very jagged. You see all our internal systems are saying, hey, but me, how about me? Yeah. This is a different pattern. This is what we call a coherent pattern. This is when we are experiencing those positive emotions, those rejuvenating emotions, such as appreciation, calm, patience, confidence. Now what happens is our heart, our brain, and our breath, all three entrain. And that signal is so powerful. You have to imagine the heart's beating can be felt throughout our body, right? If our heart is creating a pattern that's incoherent, it creates a chaotic pattern. If our heart is creating a pattern that's more ordered, it connects with our breath, it connects with our brain, that entrains everything else. So all those different systems that I just talked about now work together. So this is what's called coherence. So you can just see the difference between this pattern, how smooth, how orderly this is. You can just kind of feel the peace when you're looking at this. Now, just so you know, this is the heart rate variability of one person being asked for just a moment to think of an experience, not even to do anything, to think of an experience where they felt stressed. This is what happened. Then they were asked to think of an experience that brought them appreciation. This is what happened. And as you can see, there is a gap here. There actually wasn't a gap here. This was one graph. And you can see the tremendous difference that just in a moment shifts from this jaggedy pattern to this smooth pattern. This is how quickly our heart responds to our emotions and the other way around. Make sense? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Great, okay. And the reason why I wanted to share this information, why I feel this is important, is another study that happened at HeartMath. So IAG, immunoglobulin A, is a measurement of your immune system, okay? So here was a group of people that were measured with a like a little swab, cotton swab of their cheek, to measure the amount of IAG in their spit, basically showing how their immune system was responding after a certain experience. So here they're sitting and they're being asked to recall a time when they were really angry. They're being measured, baseline. 5 minutes after that, they're being measured again. And as you can see, there's an immune response, right? The IAG measurement goes up. And then for another 6 hours, they were being measured. And what happens is that there is a tremendous drop in the functioning of the autoimmune, of the immune system after experiencing anger. You can also correlate that with frustration or fear, any kind of those emotions. Interestingly, they were also asked after some other time to experience 5 minutes or experience care. Another boost in the immune system, a higher boost than with anger. So care actually supports our immune system. And then it went back to baseline, but look what happens after that. It continues to rise. So as we are walking around our neighborhood with our masks and, our gloves if necessary, if we are coming from fear, we are actually being detrimental to our own immune system. If we are coming from care, now we are supporting our immune system. Yeah? Okay. So how are we doing on time? Let's see. Okay, good. Any questions so far? Any questions? Please put them in the chat. Unmute yourself. Again, I'd love to hear your voice. Yeah, Micah, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question because, to be honest,
yeah,
I feel lots of frustration. I'm not afraid of that virus, which I don't believe in it exactly the way it's being portrayed, but that's another story. So I feel more of frustration and anger at the way people are behaving, being so quiet and not expressing. I mean, I'm sure they're all getting all sorts of emotions, and the queue outside the supermarket is just dead, nobody talking to each other. I actually asked one lady in the queue, and she said, well, there's nothing to talk about really. Well, I feel there's plenty to talk about.
Yes, I can understand that.
For me, it's coming, that anger and frustration, it's coming from a positive, it's not negative.
Yes. And yet, we call it the difference between care and overcare at HeartMath, because there is the moment where you are experiencing negative emotions, even though it comes from this care, like, come on, people, right? You are still experiencing that emotion that makes your body say, but wait, I got to be hypervigilant. Is anybody familiar here with Matt Kahn? Yeah. So Matt Kahn, I heard one of his talks the other day. He's a spiritual teacher, fascinating person who really just says it as it is. I really enjoy his humor. He's very grounded. And one of the things that he talked about was an experience exactly like you said, of being in the grocery store and standing in line, 6 feet apart, and just noticing the kind of stress that people had, and coming from love. He just made a funny remark and said something like, "Hey, beautiful," to this woman that, you only saw her eyes. But just that moment of just saying that, "Hey, beautiful," something that is totally out of context, right? Because here we are all being really careful, and there's like, wait, what? It totally lit her up. So as we come more from our own care, the fact that someone else there's nothing to talk about, I can understand how that can be kind of a put off. And the more that you radiate your care to others around you, the more that actually opens up, even if you cannot see it. So I didn't have that slide in here, but so as a HeartMath teacher, HeartMath trainer, I have hours and hours of presentations. So there is one slide that actually shows our own electromagnetic field and how our electromagnetic field influences other people. And we've done studies at HeartMath that if there are people around sending more of that coherent pattern out through your electromagnetic field, it affects the other person's feeling. By simply measuring their heart rate variability, the people who are not even practicing, who are just being, grumpy or something, their heart rate variability changes depending on the heart rate variability of the people around. So maybe at another future call, I'm able to show this to you. But just know that the love that you share, the care that you share has an effect, even if, you know, they're not saying it. Yeah. Is that helpful? Micah, was that helpful?
Yes, I totally agree, Mary, because when I'm on a coastal walk, I chat with everybody and I notice people stop and they want to talk.
Mm,
So I have
I love
some
it.
conversations.
I
And
love
actually,
that.
many
Yes.
people had nothing to say. I found out that her husband was in the car. He wasn't well, so she couldn't leave him at home.
Yes.
She
Wow.
must have been pretty stressed out.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I
Thank you.
absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing
And
that.
I sort of, because I always talk a lot, so I encourage people to say something. I mean, I always say something nice to people, and they go past me, and often they stop, and we just get very long conversation.
Lovely. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to spread kindness. And I also want to acknowledge that, you know, I've also felt and still, you know, have my moments of feeling sadness, of feeling the worry. My mom in Holland was sick, and it took her over a month to get better, and she's still healing. Like, she's finally fever free, but she's still healing. But you know what I got great comfort from, because, you know, here's the fear of, oh my gosh, I can't fly to Holland because I'm not getting out of the country. I'm not even getting in the country. There's nothing I can do. She lives alone. What's going to happen? All these different things kind of spiral down, right? And what I got great comfort from was how her neighborhood pulled together. I mean, it still brings tears to my eyes. They would make soup and leave it outside of her door. They would go out to the grocery store, the pharmacy, to pick up things for her. And that all just happened because one of her neighbors just happened to see her and happened to see how totally, you know, withdrawn she looked, and was like, hey, can we care? And they pulled the whole neighborhood together. And those are just amazing things that happen. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that, because we want to be real, right? We don't want to just overlay this sense of, oh, I'm supposed to feel happy, or supposed to feel, you know, kind or appreciative, and underneath feeling all that stuff, because that underneath stuff is still coming through. So what we want to do is we want to acknowledge it and then make a shift. Okay. So I want to do a quick demonstration with the M-Wave, which is the technology of HeartMath. So what I'm going to do is actually stop sharing my screen. Hello. And then share it again. Okay. So you should now see my screen with the M-Wave technology. Yes? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yes. Okay, great. All right. So here is the sensor. It's a little sensor like this, and it measures my heart rate variability through my earlobe. So I'm going to put it on my earlobe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the technology. And it's right now calibrating to me. And you will see my heart rate. Here's my heart rate at the bottom. That's my heartbeat, my heart rate. And what's going to happen here is this is that heart rate variability pattern that you can see. Right? So it will go up and down, and then here you'll see red, blue, or green. Red means that there is low coherence, like my system is disordered, which, by the way, I'm speaking, so I will be affecting my breathing and my heart rate. So you will see the red, the blue, and the green. Green is where we want to go. So what I want to do is talk you through the quick coherence technique, which is one of the HeartMath techniques that can be very helpful. And maybe we can all practice that together, and then you can see what happens to my heart rhythms as we're doing that. Okay. So I want to ask you to bring your attention to the center of your chest. And as you focus on your heart, as you breathe in, pretend the air is flowing in through your heart and out of your heart. And again, in through your heart and out of your heart. And then activate a regenerative feeling, such as a feeling of calm or a feeling of appreciation. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Okay. So just for a moment, check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? You feel a little bit more calm, a little bit more peaceful. So you can see here the difference in the pattern, where here I'm talking, right? Kind of moving a little bit, and my system is somewhat orderly because I am trained, right? So this is not a total like baseline. And then as we are getting into coherence, you just see how the patterns shift. This is where we all were really, really coherent. Because I don't know if you felt it, but when I practice with other people, even though we are not together, I feel that there's this band of coherence to tap into, which is why it's so much easier to get coherent when you're practicing together. Yeah. Any questions about this technology? So the beautiful thing, yes, the beautiful thing is that you don't need the technology to practice, right? This is just me showing what actually happens internally, but you experience the results yourself by simply doing that. Any questions? Okay. So I'm going to unshare this. And back to, here we go. Okay. So the when and where to practice, practicing together is so much more helpful because you're creating an environment. You know, have you ever experienced, you go to a conference and you're all learning these new techniques and it's like, wow, it's amazing. You feel really great. And then you go home and all of a sudden you're dropping all these things, these wonderful things that you just learned. It's because your environment is not set up in order to help you practice. So one of the things that I would like you to think about right now is how can you set up your environment in such a way to help you practice this really brief technique for just, 5 minutes a day. For me, one of the ways that I do it is in the morning. I have my ritual where I make my coffee, I feed the cats first, then I make my coffee, and then I go sit in my chair with my journal. And after I'm done journaling, I do 10 to 15-minute practice. It's just a really, really good start of my day. Now, do I do heart math all the time? No, sometimes I do heart math, sometimes I do other meditations. But just that amount of time is already set aside for me to do some inward grounding. So this is a really good time to just add some coherence to start off your day from this place. Now, are the freeways going to open up for you? Yeah, maybe at the moment, right? If you're coherent, maybe not, but when you are coherent, your day will go smoother. You will get less sidetracked. Yeah. Okay. So how was this information? Has it been helpful for you? Any thoughts, comments?
I have a quick question. So, does things like running or yoga or something also that kind of coherence practice?
That also helps, yes, absolutely. And especially yoga, because yoga already has, depending on the kind of yoga, has a deeper sense of breathing that will create more coherence. However, what we find is that adding that positive emotion is really important. That really brings everything together. It entrains everything so that mentally, emotionally, psychologically, you feel that coherence happen. Yeah. So if you do yoga with a smile on your face, great. Yeah. All right.
I have another quick question.
Yeah.
That's funny that you drink your coffee before you do your meditation. You don't feel, do you feel like that effect? Like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, I've heard that before. And the way that it works for me is if I don't, I will fall asleep. So I need my coffee to kind of get me like settled. I am present, and then I can use the coherence in order to bring that internal balance and not just drift off, which is why it's so nice to do at night before you go to sleep, because it kind of gets rid of all the, accumulated stress during your day, so that then you can fall asleep more easily. So that's another way to practice. Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to hear if this was helpful. If so, I'd love to do some more calls and share more heart math techniques and maybe some more research so that we can kind of create more of that field environment. And if not, then this was my gift to everybody. And we'll see you again. Any comments? All right. Well, then I want to end with thank you all so much for being here today and sharing this lovely coherent space for a few minutes with me. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. Keep on practicing. Keep sending me emails with questions or comments if you have any comments about the training or about this practice. If you are interested in doing this more on a regular basis with me, I have been thinking about offering a program. Just let me know. And then I wish you all more coherence. Yeah. So that we're all getting through this well. All right. Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to meet everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.